Call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, if everybody's had an opportunity to go over the minutes, may I have a motion to adopt the minutes as distributed?
I'll move it. I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. We're going to have a public hearing on the proposed Mills Water District. So may I have a motion to open up the public hearing?
I'll move it. I'll second it. I'll second it.
So is there anyone wishing to speak for or against the proposed Mills Water District? And what we'll do, we'll try and...
I'm going to run through the slideshow
Yeah.
real quick.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
So we'll go right into it. So here's the proposed Mills Road Water District boundary. Goes from, we'll make a connection here at the River Bend hydrant, come down 370 down the west side of Mills Road where there aren't as many houses. And across, get easements across the private property over into Biggs Grove to serve the houses that are in Biggs Grove. The reason we go on the west side of the road is less driveways to cross, less disturbance, less restoration costs. Cost estimate for the project is $595,000. I heard somebody ask about the poly wrap. It does include the poly wrap, the cost of the pipe. Estimated first year cost is $1,441 or $1,441 annually. That includes your water and includes the hydrant maintenance charge. $1,200 of that is debt service. That's using a 5% interest rate. This is the type of project that EFC will look favorably on, and you should be eligible to get a reduced or a 0% bond through Environmental Facilities Corporation. That's just where the numbers are right now. This is, the district formation is subject to permissive referendum, so there is an opportunity for everybody to come in and vote on this. And on top of that, you'll get a second shot to vote on it when they do a bond resolution. That's also subject to permissive referendum. So nothing that we do here tonight will make anything definite. What it will do is, once you have the district formed, then you can apply, and you do a hydraulic study, then you can apply to EFC for funding for grant opportunities.
Who applies?
The town would apply. So that's the long and short of what we're doing, why we're here, and what the goals are, is you have to form the district before you can apply for the grants.
Why is it necessary?
You have people there that can't get good water out of a well and are pulling water directly out of the river for their
Why,
homes.
if only 1/3 of the people can, do everybody have to pay for it?
So that's just the way New York State town law builds special districts. If you benefit from a water line being in front of your house,
Majority doesn't approve. Okay, thank you.
Why does Biggs Grove add it in the Mills
I know,
Road?
why do they add a
There is no
road that's
through
not
there.
connected to us?
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Okay.
All right? So if you're going to speak, just raise up your hand, we'll call
I
you,
did.
because I don't want it to get out of control.
as I say, I have nothing more to add. I'll let the folks, the public, come up to the mic and say your name and address and speak.
All right,
Is this
go ahead.
gonna be a
Go ahead,
public
sir.
road?
Pardon me?
It's gonna turn into a public road?
No, it'll be easement.
Why is that? According to New York State, once the town puts something in, they have to follow the law and take it over.
I don't believe that is true.
Well, look it up on Google,
That,
see if it lies to you.
that's not true. If the town plowed the road, yes, they would have to take it over.
Well, the road should be plowed by the town because I'm tired of trying to get out of my driveway and all the snow from
The outside of the road is in the middle of the road.
So we gotta have people come up to the mic, state name and address.
Hold on a second, hold on a second.
All right,
All right.
everybody like their
So
hands.
do it one at a time, and first of all, you're talking about something else. We're here to talk, this is a public hearing on the water district.
Well, I-
Which-
we'll put
Hold
water
on,
down
hold
there
on,
if you
hold
can't
on a
get it
second,
out.
hold on a second.
All right, put your hand down.
We're just talking about the water, so if you want to talk about the water, fine. What you're talking about is plowing the road is a whole nother deal. So if you want to continue,
you're
come on,
accommodating
hold on a
certain
second,
people.
hold on. Come on up to the mic, state your name, and then you can go from there. We'll have a little decorum.
My name is Doug Patel, I live at 8051 Mills Road. This has been tried down in there before, putting water in, and it's been turned down. Wasn't too long ago, everybody wanted natural gas. Mark Reeves shut it down. Mark Reeves don't have any more say over that right away than any of us sitting here. I'm told I can't put nothing in the right of way, but yet we got flower gardens, telephone poles, light poles, sheds in the right of way.
That's a private road down there. It's not-
Well, try to get in and out when there's a garbage truck or a fuel truck in there. There is no way around because that guy right there will go out of his way
Hold on.
and put stuff in the right of way to stop you from going around.
Hold on a second. We're talking about water. If you want to talk about some of these other, hold on. If you want to talk about some of these other issues, I'll be happy to meet with you anytime. We can talk about it. But for tonight, we're talking about the water. That's what the public is hearing us for. Okay, so do you have anything else about forming the water district?
I don't see why we need it. We got good water.
Okay, well, because we
That guy
got.
right there
Hold
lived
on a
there
second.
30-some years
Hold on a
and
second.
never had a problem till that guy moved
Okay,
in.
look it, I don't want you going back and forth with, arguing with your neighbors, okay? So you can address everything up here. We got a petition, there's 20, I think there's 26 or 27 residents down there, and we got 3/4 of the residents signed a petition that own the property, that wants the water down there.
So
Now, by
shut it
law,
off when they
hold
got that water.
on, by law, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Rivasino, we have to move forward with this, right? So once we get that petition, the town has to move forward with it. Now, like Mr. Yeager said to you earlier, once we move through the process, and how far do we have to go before they get a chance to do a permissive referendum?
Right now. This is subject to permissive referendum.
Okay, so if you want to have a if you want to have a referendum on this, where all your neighbors, anybody that's.
Okay, then who's gonna maintain these hydrants?
Hold on a second. Let me explain one thing at a time. If you feel that there's more of you than there isn't that don't want the water district, all you need is 5% of the people. So how many are we talking about? 3 or 4?
No, 7 houses.
Minimum.
There's only 16 on the road.
Well, it's 5%, so
It's by the
5%.
property owner, by
Yeah, it's
property
not
owner.
many.
Yeah.
It's not many. You go out, get a petition, and if you're interested in doing that, if anybody's interested in doing that, we'll help you do that. Then you have all your neighbors vote on it, and then majority rules on it.
My neighbors don't deal with me. That's right.
Okay, but I'm only telling you what you have to do to conform to the law, and I'm trying to tell you, this is your options moving forward.
Okay, like I said, who's gonna maintain these hydrants? Who's gonna go out there and shovel them in the winter? Half these people are gonna be dead in another 25 years. But you don't wanna hear that. So just shut up.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak, have a comment?
You said you need,
Hold on, one at a time.
Fred Birch, 8865 Plainville Road. Does anybody know what the estimated useful life of that equipment that's put in the ground would be?
100 years.
Ductile iron water main has a life expectancy of 80 years.
80 years? During that time period, if there's a abnormality like an earthquake or a disturbance in the ground, who would be responsible for the maintenance of that?
We would lease this system back to the village of Baldwinsville, and under our lease agreement with the village of Baldwinsville will.
Okay, I'm sure you've done this, but I'll ask anyways, has anybody talked with the village of Baldwinsville to check the water pressure to see that people in the village who are currently getting water now are not gonna have any loss of water pressure or quality when that's hooked up?
Water pressure is a function of the elevation where your home is.
Taxpayer.
The answer is yes. We did check. Not gonna have a problem.
Taxpayer. Who's taxpayer?
Is there anybody else?
Clarence McLagan, 8052 Mills Road. We're also wondering, on this petition, you said we have to file for and against the water. How much percentage do we need? 5%, you said?
5%. Yeah.
Well, if you got 16 houses on the road and 7 of us say no, that's a lot more than 5%. Does that mean it's shot down or
Let me
what?
explain, the 5% is to get the referendum on the table. So once you get 5% of the people, let's say there's 2 people, you file the petition, then the referendum is set up for a vote on a separate day. On the day of the referendum, everybody votes in the district, and you go by majority rule. If the majority says they want it,
One more than, the majority is 51% or what is it?
yes.
If 20 people voted and 11 people didn't want it, it would fail.
Okay, well, we've already filed a petition for our down to the town clerks and filed it, it's against it. So when do we have this referendum?
You would, I believe your process would be after, if we pass this tonight,
Yeah.
then your clock would start on
It's a
submitting a
The
petition.
petition that was filed with the town clerk was to create the water.
No,
And we also filed one against it.
Okay, well, that's, yeah, that doesn't count until the referendum happens. You'd have to vote again in the referendum.
And when is this gonna be?
Well, once we get a petition to have a referendum, we'll set up a date and time for the election, for the voting, and we'll send that out to you and all the neighbors, and they'll come in at the town hall and vote on that day.
Why is Biggs Grove Road added into Mills Road? And
There was interest of residents on Biggs Grove to have water.
why not have their own water district, not tie it in with ours?
Well,
They
that
got
would cost
another-
everybody on your road more money.
Well, not if you don't go 1,000 feet farther.
It's not 1,000 feet.
How far is it from, the last person that needs it on the road, which is Libby, I don't know her last name, to, Biggs Grove? It's 1,000 feet.
Gotta be clear.
Carol Green is the last good water on the road.
If,
Even if they wanted water and you wanted water, we would combine the two anyway.
yeah.
Because if they're close water districts, that's the idea with it, behind having a water district, is you spread the cost out
Well, think of this.
amongst more people.
3 of the houses on Biggs Grove are all owned by Reeves. So it looks like to us, we're paying for Reeves's water line down on Biggs Grove.
Well, here's the thing, if you got 25 people, all you would need is 3 people. 3 people for 5%.
We don't have 25 houses on the road, it's only 16.
There were
24,
If you're counting Biggs Grove.
24?
Yes,
Yeah.
we count Biggs Grove, yes, we
Yeah.
count.
So you got 24 people, so all you need is 3, 4, 3, 5% is what? 3.
And it's 5% of all the property owners, so if it's a husband and wife listed on the deed.
Right.
So say you got 48 property owners, if everybody was a 2-person
So it's
household.
5% of all the owners?
All the owners,
Okay.
so if you came in with, all it would take is 3 people theoretically, as long as there's not more than 48 owners, to get your
Right.
5%.
And what does the 5% do for us?
The 5% forces the vote, forces an actual vote, you come into town hall, you fill out an anonymous ballot and submit it to the town clerk.
Okay, thank you.
I wonder if I could say something at this point, Mr. Gerber, if you can just hold on. I just want folks to understand that this is, the town board is acting as I guess, a middleman. We're not pushing this. That we got a request from some of the residents in that area to consider putting in a water district. What we're talking about tonight is if this thing gets voted on, all it does is it takes the first step. But if there's more people in that area that don't want the water district, that's what the petition will allow you to do. We'll put it up for a public vote, your vote, not our vote, your vote. And the only thing that we're doing is we're allowing that democracy to take place. We're not pushing this. It's up to the residents to vote for or against this in the majority. I don't know if that helps.
I forgot something when I was up here earlier. If you don't live on that area, can you still write or help the residents, assist them writing the referendum petition if you want to? So in other words, I don't live there. If I want to write the referendum petition for them, because I've written 2 out of the 3 this town has ever had, if I want to write that for them, can I do that if I don't live there? If you guys want my assistance, I'll write it for you. I'll go out and get the signatures for you. You come down here and you vote. You can vote it down if you want. You can vote it up if you want. It should be your choice and not somebody who owns a bunch of property. Just one other thing, and it's associated with what you said to Tony about you're compelled to do this since a certain amount of people brought you a petition from that area asking you for it. I want to let this board know I got 100% of the taxpayers in my area to sign that public safety petition, and I've asked you for 13 areas of help. You've never given me one area of help.
We're talking about the water now. It's a hearing on, it's a
100%.
hearing on the water.
100%
So if you got something on the water, then you can continue. If not,
When I get my 5 minutes, I'll continue. Thank you for your time.
okay. Anybody else?
My name's Steve Riley, I live at 1305 West Tennessee Road. Mine is just a procedural question. This is going to go to a vote and you say majority rules. Well, how is it done that this is a water district thing, but it could be anything. It gets brought to you and all of a sudden it's put to us where it's going to be a vote on it. You know what I mean? Not everything that people want are going to have
It will
votes
only be
on.
put to you if you request it through a permissive referendum. Let's just say hypothetically, everybody was in favor of this and there was nobody against it, just hypothetically, then this board would vote on it, yea or nay. The board would vote. But that vote is taken away from us through a permissive referendum, which you have every right in the world to make
Right, but
happen.
why does it even get this far? In other words, they could have referendums on anything. I want to
No,
have
let me-
bluebird houses on my street or something.
Let me explain it to you. You can't have referendums on everything. The only time you have a referendum is when town law, the state of New York law, requires the referendum. This is a particular instance in which the state says you can only do this if you have a permissive referendum. The other stuff that we're doing tonight, the resolutions that we pass, don't require referendums. But this one, because it's a district, does. It's a separate issue, we're following.
Yeah, I don't even know what else is on your document there. I'm just saying, how does, my question is, so we have some people that apparently want water where they live, and obviously our taxes are gonna go up, you know, when that goes in.
No, actually not. Only the people that use the water.
So
That's
if
why
you
it's,
don't tap into it,
if you're in the water district, you would have to pay, you know, the fees associated with it. If you live on West Tennessee Road, you're not gonna pay it, because you're not in the
well, it goes down
district.
Mills Road, I'm understanding, right?
Yes.
So I'm right there in that corner. I wouldn't have to pay that, you're saying?
You're across the street,
Yeah.
Oh, you're across the street, yeah. No.
So I did not include your house in the district boundary.
All right, well, I got things in the mail, a couple of them to be down here for.
Well,
Because you're within the area.
Yeah,
of
so
the
it
district.
goes out with everybody within 500 feet.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And as we stated before, a petition was already passed among neighbors that was presented to the town board to start this process. So a group wanted water, and this is the process we have to follow. And until you get the dollar amounts, which now we have better numbers, some people might decide they don't want water when they see those numbers.
Okay, say you put water in there,
The microphone.
if you're putting water in there, are we gonna get catch basins and ditches too? So when you have a water main break, that everybody's places don't flood and wash out?
No, this is just for water.
Well, then who takes care of the water damage if the road's washed out?
I don't know who does that.
That would be the responsibility of the water district. All the residents would contribute towards, if there's a water main break and there needs to be restoration of the road above and beyond what the village's
Why wouldn't you
lease
put catch
agreement would
basins
be.
and drain off?
Well, you can do that. You have to form a drainage district. And that again is the same thing as this district. It would be paid by the people that benefit from it, which would be,
There's an awful lot of little houses down in there.
that would be the process if you want a drainage district. Same thing we're doing tonight.
Well, certain people are gonna get accommodated, other people should too, and we should
By all means,
get
pass
stuff that
petition
goes
for a
along
drainage.
with the water.
You can pass petition for a drainage district as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, John Grandinetti, 8106 Mills Road. This permissive referendum, okay,
All it is a vote.
it is a vote, that is
You
correct.
have to have a petition signed to force a vote.
Right,
That's what it
so,
is.
so basically, we need that petition. Is there a time frame that is required?
You got 60
There
days.
is, yeah.
So you have 60 days from tonight, assuming we move forward,
Right.
to submit that. And then within 30 days or so,
Yeah.
you would have that vote. And I'm correct in understanding it's deed, people on the deed, so if there's two people in the household on the deed,
Yes.
they both get a vote, correct? So, and you have to be a registered voter as well.
No, you just gotta be a resident of the district.
You have to be a resident and
Property.
on the deed, on the deed. Okay, thank you.
So everybody understands that, right? 30 or 60 days afterwards, you have to have that petition filed. And where do they bring them? To the clerk's office?
Up to town clerk.
Bring them to the town
And then we
clerk?
go through each name and make sure that those are the names on the deed.
Yeah.
Now, if nobody passed a petition against this,
Then it goes through.
it goes through.
So where do you
File
understand
two
that?
petitions, one for and one against?
No,
You don't have to file one for.
You file it if you want to go against it.
If you wanna require a vote, if the district gets formed, you would carry a petition for a permissive referendum to have the vote. If you're fine with it, and, you know, the 30-day timeline, is it 30 days or 60? 60-day timeline expires from the date of filing, I believe is how the law works, not tonight, whenever we file it. Then nothing happens. You know, I mean, you have that 60-day time frame from, I don't know, probably 7 to 10 days.
Well, no, we got a problem with some of the people that don't want it are in Florida for the winter. What do they do?
Absentee vote.
If you
They have to
could-
sign the
if you could-
petition.
Right.
How are they gonna sign it?
Could they email them or fax them a petition and have a notary sign it?
They don't necessarily have to sign the petition.
That's right.
Because you can get enough people to sign the
I'll take a
petition.
weekend and
You
drive
only
down
need
there.
5%. It is, the vote though is important. You do want them to vote.
The vote
You'll have enough people to sign your petition, that's not an issue. It's the vote.
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I can't hear this.
So, you said there are people in Florida currently.
Yeah, they called us yesterday.
Okay, so I'm working on the assumption that you probably have enough people, because you only need 5%. You have enough people for the petition itself. The vote, however, we're gonna need to find a way to hear their voice, the people who are property owners but are not available at the time of the vote. We are gonna have to see what the law says about that, and that's what our attorney is for.
And I believe once the petition is presented, and it's,
We have to set up a date and a time for the vote, so
We
it
have
probably
so
won't
many
even be
days.
until April or May.
Right.
So people might
60
be
or
back
90
from
days to
Florida
set the
by then.
vote.
Because again, as Counselor Gerasi said, you know, we would like the people involved in the district to make the decision for the district. I don't have a problem with that at all, but we do want to make sure that we hear from everybody.
Another thought I had after listening to Councilor Moore and Mr. Chattel, who brought up a good point about if there's two people on the deed, both of them can vote. Let's say we have 4 or 5 houses that are owned by an individual who doesn't live in any of those houses. Say that individual lives on farmland across town. Can the people who rent those properties, they can't vote? The person who owns that property, can he vote one time?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think he can vote unless he lives there.
If it has to be their resident.
Okay.
Be a
Okay,
resident
so all
property.
of these, Reeves has got 6 votes on this
They
petition.
can't vote.
They don't count.
They don't
can't
count?
vote.
He doesn't live in any.
You don't live in any of them.
The owner of each property gets his vote. So if he owns 6 properties, he gets 6 votes. It's a separate, if he has a corporation that owns it, the corporation gets a vote.
So he can
Yeah,
vote
but you
6.
said he had to live there. You don't live
No, I
there.
didn't say, he's got to own property there. He doesn't
They're
have to
probably
live-
all added onto his farm because he don't pay tax on that.
So they don't have to be a resident property.
They're gonna be on the deed.
So it'd be 1 vote for each property.
No.
And then what if there was 2 people on the deed, Tony? Would 2 people be able to vote for
Hold
each
on,
property?
hold on. Don't yell stuff from the crowd.
Say there's more than Mark Reeves on the deed. Say his wife is on the deed as well. Can she vote at all those properties too?
Just going to try to find the wording so you can hear it.
Right now, it's a moot point until we get the petition.
I understand
So
that, Bob.
if there's 50 people, all you need are 3 people to sign it, 3 owners.
I-
Then we can go there, and then we'll have the answer solid over. He's an attorney, but he doesn't have all the laws.
I understand
You know, at the
that,
top
I'm
of-
not
off
being
the top of
demeaning,
the
but I
set.
do think it's important to get certain things out in the public so that these people got a better idea of which direction they can go.
And when I'm sure they're probably gonna do a referendum, and then we'll have all that information at the time that referendum takes place. We'll make sure everybody understands. Any other questions on that one? Nothing else? Okay. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public hearing is now closed. Now we're going to have another public hearing on the real property tax exemption for firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers. May I have a motion to open up the hearing?
I'll move it.
Go ahead. You move it?
I didn't do it.
I'll second it.
Okay. Now, we have Ms. Golden here is going to explain what's on the, what this law is all about.
Currently,
Okay, we need quiet in the audience. We have people speaking. If you want to speak on something, you can go outside.
currently we have what I would call the old-style fireman's exempt and ambulance workers exemption. There are 32 of them in the town of Lysander total. And in December, the governor signed into law a new option that is standardized across the state, and it's not applicable to individual counties with different options. And so if the town doesn't do anything for the next 3 years, in December of 2025, the exemptions, those 32 exemptions that we currently have, they are repealed because of the change in that law. So this is basically updating to the new standardized version of the volunteer firefighter and ambulance worker exemption. And currently, it says 10% of assessed value, but that 10% is capped at $3,000 of assessed value. The new exemption would be up to 10%. So it would be theoretically a much larger exemption for those that are gonna apply for it. And there are options about years of service, lifetime members, everything is pretty similar. You get to choose between 2 and 5 years of service before you're actually qualified to get the exemption. You also have the option for lifetime members with 20 years of service to continue. And there's also 2 options for unremarried spouses. The first one would be unremarried spouse of a volunteer firefighter who had the exemption, who was killed in the line of duty, that they would be able to continue that. And the second option would be an unremarried spouse of a firefighter, ambulance worker that was deceased without the killed in the line of duty clause, to continue that exemption as long as they had the exemption in place. So that's basically what we're looking to do tonight.
Now, just so we got a couple firefighters on the crowd tonight. So, what we're voting on would do all of it, right?
Yes, yes.
So, just so everyone knows, everything she said that we can vote on, that we can adopt, we're adopting tonight. And, you know, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, but I'm pretty sure that this isn't gonna be a problem to pass as a vote, so.
And I believe the options that you're considering tonight are the same options that the town of Van Buren has looked at, and also the same options that Onondaga County has looked at. And they passed it earlier in February.
What about honorary members? Mr. McIntyre made me an honorary member today, so do they get a discount from this?
Only if you have 20 years of service.
Why would you do that? He's got to be able to spell firefighter.
And to clear up, we're getting a lot of questions in Van Buren since the public hearing and the vote and everything last night. This is strictly for first responders. This is strictly a firefighters and ambulance worker exemption. And it's very specific, auxiliary members that, you know, that aren't firefighters. They're wonderful volunteers, but according to the law, they don't qualify for this exemption.
Glad you pointed that out. Okay, anybody want to speak? Yes, sir.
Tom Perkins, Chairman of Lysander Public Safety. How much time do I have now?
It's a hearing, you got time.
Okay. I think
under an hour.
I think it would be important to give you a little history on the crisis. Back in 2000, the County Fire Advisory Board recognized there was a critical need for volunteers. Volunteers were starting to drop off at that time. So they formed a coalition like everybody does when there's a crisis. And what the board felt was that we needed to bring people in from fire districts, town boards, village boards, because the feeling at the time was fire chiefs were really not telling the truth to their AHKs, that they were in a critical situation. And most of the problem back then was, it was different areas. A lot of the departments were experiencing a shortage, both day and evening. Lysander at the time was only experiencing at daytimes. Two councilmen at the time, O'Donnell and Rode, approached me asking if we could get together and talk about it. So at that time, we formed what was the Lysander Public Safety Committee, which encompassed every fire department that was in the volatile school district. We had a lot of good success over the years. We've a lot of education programs. One of the critical things that came out of that was the Engine 91 concept, because Lysander was experiencing problems during the daytime response. So this 91 engine was conceived where you would have an engine staffed with 4 to 6 people every day, and then whoever in the township had a fire alarm, that engine would automatically respond and assist those departments that were in trouble. It worked well for a while, quite a while actually, and then some of the major players started dropping off to the point where the engine 91 is rarely in service today. So the need for some type of incentive, and there's been other incentives throughout the state that have been, proposed, and nothing ever seems to work. I think this legislation seems to be the best that we've seen in the fire service in a long time for being a help to try to recruit new people. Is it going to work? I don't know, but it's another tool in the toolbox that I think is beneficial to us to see if we can improve our ranks. Right now, I think we're in a crisis mode. 20 years ago was critical, and I think now for us it's crisis, and anything we can get to help us in the recruitment process will be a big help. So I would urge you to pass this, and we'll have to wait and see where it goes. I mean, we're all doing recruiting all the time, but people just don't seem to want to volunteer like they did in the past. So maybe with this, to have an added incentive that, okay, maybe I'm going to get a break in my taxes if I volunteer to be a firefighter or emergency service, not just firefighter. I think that's it in a nutshell. How's my time?
You were done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Good evening, and thanks for letting me speak. My name is Tony McIntyre. I'm the District Fire Chief of the Northwest Fire District. I want to say thanks just to consider doing this for us on a big scale. I was at Town of Van Buren last night, and they passed it, and we appreciate that. One of the things, I don't remember your name, but you brought up today that I had a question on. It referenced an option of having 2 years or 5 years. Did I understand that correctly?
That is correct, and they are looking at the same option that we currently have in place, which is 5 years.
Okay. So, not to beat a dead horse, but Chief Perkins was mentioning recruitment and whatnot, but there's a word that we're using that I think sometimes gets missed, is called retention. I'm asking you if you would consider the 2-year option. Quite frankly, that might make a difference of whether or not maybe a person will stay or not, or stay within the town. As you can see, it matters. I sent out some messages to my membership that we need to support this, and they're here. Just to keep in the back of your mind, to be a volunteer now, just to walk through the doors. When you walk through the doors when you're brand new, it's 200 hours the first year to take your classes. And oh, by the way, our business meetings, oh, by the way, we do a little bit of fundraising, we take care of our neighbors, we run mutual aid. Obviously, they're not here because they're getting paid, they love it, but man, anything you could do to help us out, to keep them just back a little bit, we really appreciate it. And again, thanks a bunch to the municipalities, Van Buren, you guys, and I got the village was talking about it tonight, so Eagle Strong, thanks for everything.
So Teresa, to follow up on
Yes.
this question, for the first 2 years, they don't get anything, correct?
Yes, and the exemption that we have now, the exemption that, the 32 exemptions that we have currently, it's 5 years.
And the county passed the 5-year.
The county did, yes.
Now, that doesn't mean that a year from now, part of the hurry on this, I believe, is March 1st, correct?
Right.
Correct.
To get in
Yeah.
for this year.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean we can't reconsider.
Fair enough.
At a later time.
Yep.
We'll take what we can get, that's the only thing I was asking, is fair different if considered the 2 years.
Teresa based her numbers on what we saw as a board of what it would cost the town on the 5-year exemption.
Okay.
And, you know, this year, we can look into 2-year and see what it costs the town.
How many more people, like between 3 and 5 years, do you think you would have? Double that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We'll take the 5. Be nice for 2, but we'll take the 5.
I mean, that's something, she hasn't done the numbers, but, I would have a problem with 2 years.
Thank you.
Are we precluded from doing it 2 years at this point?
No, no.
I'd like to do
It's
2 years.
it's entirely up to you. The option is between 2 and 5 years, so you can do anything in between those.
What would we have to do on this,
I think it's just changing the language, isn't it, Tony?
In the
From
resolution.
5 to
Yeah.
2.
just 5 on here?
On the resolution itself.
I don't, s-
It's on page 2. It's not, it's
Yeah. It actually says between 2 and 5 years. So it's at your discretion.
Good.
where is, what motion is
It's motion B, but you're looking at the actual.
Yeah, I'm looking at the actual law.
It's motion.
In the law, it's F, it says the volunteer firefighter meets an energy service, which is hereby established as a 5-year minimum.
But motion B doesn't list 2 years or 5 years.
But it's the law that we're
The
passing.
law,
Yeah.
right,
that's
it's in a row.
so the 2-year is a different,
Yeah, you'd have to change the wording in the resolution in order to do that.
all right.
It just
And the
shows
local
that
law.
We have to, so that's a different law, so we have to pass this tonight to get in there, and then we'll work on the 2 years afterwards.
I think you can amend, correct me if I'm wrong.
Just to
You
clarify.
amend the
Do we know
local
what the
law by
section is on?
resolution now that you've got a public hearing?
Yeah, you can change the formal resolution that you approve,
Just by
you can
res-
do that tonight.
Yeah, you can do that tonight.
And then the local law, letter F, where it says, which is hereby established as 5 years, is that the one that we would change to 2 years? So we can change, if that's what they agree on, we can change this local law tonight to say 2 years.
So what would we have to change?
Just put 5 to the 2.
What's that?
5 to 2.
Right here, that's it?
Yeah.
So then our motion would be okay, we just say, have to change this, that's attached to it.
Right.
The 5 to 2.
So we go with this honorary.
That's easy enough.
They're out, stay back here. Mr. Perkins said he's going with my ass. He already slipped my tire.
You're gonna go 5 or 2?
5.
I mean, I'll say this at the time of the vote, but, I mean, this is paying peanuts for dollars worth of service that is so incredibly important to this town.
Oh, I see, this is the law, that's why I just, so all I did was change it from 5 to 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're good there, okay, all right. Well, I know the numbers, I mean, we talked about the numbers, and that's why I'm asking if it's double. That's certainly something that's doable, and I agree with you. You know, I agree with Chief Perkins there, that retention and recruitment is hard. I mean, it's hard when you're paying people. I mean, cops are having a hard time recruiting. My son's a recruiter for the state police, and they used to get 30,000 people. I think they got 18,000 last time, and they're paying 120,000. So when you're talking about volunteers, anything we can do, I think we should do, because realistically, if you look at getting a full-time fire department, it'd be a lot more than what we're paying now. So, anybody else? Yes, sir. I know we didn't talk about the ambulance. but-
Yeah, you gotta keep the ambulance in there. Hi, I'm Bob Sweet, live on Oswego Street, and I'm current vice president of the Greater Baldwinsville Ambulance Corps. And the first thing I want to say is what's been echoed here today. You guys are great supporters of us, and although we don't have a lot of volunteers, as you know, a lot of our ambulance is covered with paid staff. The volunteers that are there, a lot of us have been there a long time, and we appreciate what you're doing because our service has been for free for, in this case, 39 years. And it doesn't mean we want to get paid for it, but we do appreciate what you're doing. I do have one question, though. The bill that the governor passed, does that exclude the $200 a year that we're taking off of our taxes and this replaces it?
Actually, as I understand it from the attorney the town attorney in Van Buren, you have the option to take the income tax credit or this. You can't do both.
Right, I got you.
So basically, you figure out which is gonna do the best for you when you pick your best option.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
The income tax part helps a non-property owner. And, you know, a person that's not a resident, they're volunteers, they don't have to own a house.
Yeah.
So that part, you know, like she said, you have to decide
Yeah.
what's best for
Which
you.
one? Okay, great. Well, thank you all.
Okay. Now, I just had a question for Teresa. What, we passed this tonight, what does a volunteer have to do to get this?
The 32 that we currently have, they're gonna get switched to the new exemption.
Okay.
Anybody that doesn't already have it would need to make an application with the assessor's office by March 1st. We currently don't have the new applications from the state because this is all coming out as we speak. So we're gonna use the old applications so that nobody misses that March 1st deadline going forward.
So, once we pass this, so that they can pass it on to their members,
Yep,
anybody that would qualify for this needs to get in before March 1st.
yes, that's correct.
So,
It's a simple application, there's maybe 15
Okay.
questions on it.
so
Are these
get that out.
applications online, or do you have to come to a town hall to get them?
I don't know if they're on our website or not, because it's not one of our more popular ones, but they are available in the assessor's office. You can find them on the state website, but it's very difficult, so my advice would be to just pop into the assessor's office and get the form.
And if you tell us how many you need, I'll get them to you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No, I'm glad all of you didn't want to talk tonight. All right, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll move that.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Meeting is closed. So, I had to change the citizens' comments a little bit. Over the past few months, I had a couple of people come to me and they expressed some concern that our meetings were getting a little bit rowdy. So I don't want to get into a back and forth with anybody about what town business is, but where town business is restricted to agenda items. If you want to talk to one of us after the meeting about something that's not on the agenda, we're here, after the meetings. If you want to talk to us before the meetings, at the work sessions, we're glad as well. If you got something that's going to take some length of time that a number of people would want to hear about, you can call me, I'll put you on the agenda on the work session. That's not a problem. We've been accused of being like the school board, but we're far from like the school board. The school board gives you an opportunity to make comments, but at least from my own experience, they don't like to call people back. We call everybody back. I have a list of phone numbers every day, and anybody that calls me, I call them back, and when I do, I cross it up. Or any of the board members. I'm not going to speak for them, but I'm sure that they'll call you back as well. But we give everybody plenty of opportunity to make their grievances known to the town board, and we try to accommodate you as much as we can. But one thing I won't let happen is people coming to the meetings and being uncomfortable. This should be someplace where people can come and sit through the meeting and be able to do so in an environment that isn't adversarial. So that's all I'm going to say on that. So is there anybody that has any citizens' comments regarding agenda items only? Okay, one thing we're not gonna do, you can speak into that and speak up clearly, please, because we gotta be able to hear you.
I just received a warning that I talked too loud at the meeting, so I was trying to tone it down a little bit. Bob!
Okay, well, you're gonna have to maintain some type of decorum, otherwise I'm gonna ask you to leave. One or the other.
So we're not allowed to grieve about stuff that happens to our property if it's not on the agenda
I
item?
thought that's correct.
So in the
I thought I was
past.
clear about that.
So
I don't care about the past.
Okay, so in
We
300
changed the rules.
Right, so in 300, and it's you that changed the rules, not the board.
That's correct.
So you're a dictator.
No, I'm the one who runs the meeting. Now, hold on.
I've been to
I don't,
300
hold on.
meetings. Nobody's
Hold
ever
on.
done that before.
All right. These people don't want to hear stuff, us going back and forth. They have other business to do. They're here to listen to the business of the town. So if you have something specific about one of these agenda items, go ahead. If not, I would ask you to sit down, please.
Well, if I ask you to speak about something not during a town board meeting, you don't give me the time of day. So town board meeting is the only time I've got an opportunity to say that.
After the meeting, I'm happy, tonight, if you got some issues before or after the meeting, I'll wait here and I'll talk to you about it.
Okay, as long as you don't scream and yell at me like a little kid like you did to Kevin Road out in the parking lot a couple months ago. Thank you for your time.
Is there anybody else?
Does this new rule count prior agenda items? For instance, I'm still curious about the signs on Page Road that I contacted.
It's not on the agenda.
Okay, don't yell from the crowd, that's on the rules as well. So no, if you wanna wait till after the meeting, I'll tell you what I have.
All right,
Because-
because I got an update from the county too, and they said they're waiting on you guys.
Okay. Anyone else?
Cindy Clark, 27 West Tennessee Street. Thank you for doing this, because I come to all the meetings, and I've started to feel extremely uncomfortable at some of these meetings. And I'm not naming names or anything like that, but I have said a couple things that, and I'm no slouch, I mean, I'm not a weenie ball or anything like that, but I've started to feel a little bit uncomfortable, and I like how you've handled it, because you have to keep the control there, and people get passionate, I get that. They get very passionate about their item, their whatever's going on in their particular neighborhood or whatever the case
That's not on
might
the
be.
agenda. What you're saying isn't on our agenda.
Right, all right, hold on a second. If you yell one more time, I'm gonna ask the deputy to escort you out, all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All
He's right.
He's right,
So-
and I apologize, but I just wanted to thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else? No? All right. We'll move on to town board comments. Start with you tonight, Mr. Moore.
All right, I feel bad that everybody left. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Please, when you go back and you talk to your cohorts, please let them know that I appreciate their feedback. If anyone's left from Mills Road or Biggs Road, also go back to your neighbors and tell them the same thing. Thank you for coming. Hayes Road, of course, as well. But everyone, thanks for coming, thanks for watching, and I'll stick to the agenda.
I wish that all the firefighters and ambulance workers hadn't left, but I hope they hear what I'm going to say next. My house would have burnt to the ground in 1994 were it not for the volunteer firefighters who showed up within minutes of that fire having started in the garage to one of the cars, I was told by the forensic expert. And for other personal reasons, for a family emergency, the Baldwinsville ambulance people are second to none in terms of taking care of an emergency. I can't tell you how grateful I am to have the volunteers in this community because, as I said, my house would have been ashes had it not been for them in 1994. So I'm so happy to be able to vote on this legislation tonight. Thank you.
Just want to echo what Councilor Gerasi and Moore said too about the volunteers. Thank you for all your service. You have a lot of individuals here. Looks like they have a lot of time. Just want to Mr. Jim Lee in the back, I just want to recognize him. He's the hardest man, working man I know, so I'm glad to see that you're back, walking around. Thank you for coming to the meeting.
I'd just like to thank everybody for attending, and I don't think we're gonna have a problem moving this down to 2 years, which is great. I think the board, I think we're doing the right thing, and hopefully it'll help recruitment. The other thing I'd like to say, it's sort of a sad thing, I saw that Richard Lesniak passed away. I only knew Mr. Lesniak a couple meetings, but very passionate about his town, very passionate about the emergency services. He'll be missed. He was a great guy. All right, Matt, thank you.
Okay. Glad to see all the fire personnel here. It's too bad they left, but I'd like to see you have more of these meetings. Okay. Department head reports. Mr. Ozigna. Okay. Mr. Merrill isn't here. He wasn't feeling well this evening. Mr. Sweetak, he was in a bicycle accident. He was riding his bike and got ran over. So I guess he's okay, but banged up pretty good. That's why he's not here tonight. Ms. Golden, do you have any?
Yes, just to give you a quick update about what's going on in the assessor's office. Our confirmed trends for the 2023 assessment roll are for residential properties plus 11%, commercial properties plus 5%, and vacant land plus 8%. Because we're not doing the annual reassessment process anymore, keeping our assessments at 100%, the level of assessment and the equalization rate is projected to be 90% for 2023. And that's in due to all of those plus trends. The 2023 assessment roll timeline will be a little different and will be as follows. All changes to the assessments or inventory are going to be made by the end of March. Tentative change of assessment notices are going to be mailed the week of April 17th. Informal meetings with the assessor are going to occur the week of April 24th and the May 1st. Tentative roll filed, as always, on or before May 1st by law, and grievance day, as always, by appointment on Tuesday, June 6th, which is always the first Tuesday in June. You may notice that we've made a lot of changes to exemptions recently, and that's due to legislation in Albany being passed. Changes to real property legislation, the major ones. In 2022, senior citizen and person with disabilities increase of the income limits on that sliding scale to a maximum of $50,000. That's what the state passed. The town of Lysander raised our income limit to $37,400, which matches currently what the county offers. Also, the town of Van Buren is at that same level. Senior citizen exemptions, the requirement for a second notice. And that legislation actually said that the first notice is on the back of your tax bill. So when you get your property tax bill, on the back, if you turn it over, there's a little blurb about the senior citizen limited income exemption. It doesn't, because of space constraints, there's not a lot of information that you can put there, but it does have that little notice. So that's considered by the governor as the first notice. So in December, she passed legislation that requires a second notice. And what that legislation, and I talked with Supervisor Wicks, and that legislation actually said that we would have to send notification about a senior citizen exemption to every property owner in the town of Lysander, which I thought was ridiculously expensive and a waste of taxpayer dollars, quite frankly. So we came up with a compromise where we mail to everyone that have the enhanced star exemption or the credit check. That means those people are 65, we know they're 65 or they wouldn't have the benefit of that exemption or that credit, and that they did not currently have the senior citizen exemption. And so that amounted to approximately 1,200 in the town of Lysander that we sent out. We included a cover letter, the senior citizen flyer, and our current income limits. And when we're fielding the questions, some people are coming in and their income is too high, but we are getting a number of new applications that do qualify. So basically that's what we did as a compromise. The volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers exemption to the statewide option in which you're entertaining and having the public hearing tonight. And attached to the report is an exemption administration for 2022 summary. And also attached to your report is a continuing education report for myself. And this past year in 2022, I spent 36 hours in training to earn 36 hours of credit so that my warnings on my previous year's report disappeared. And I am in good standing for 21, 22, and 23, and that report is attached to you for your records. And I'll answer any questions that you have.
Great job, Teresa.
Okay, Mr. Yeager.
I'm disappointed that so many of the first responders left, but I just want to thank you so much for what you do. I mean, to me, you are the true heroes, and I can't thank you enough, and it's a pleasure to be in your presence, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
So we'll move on to the regular agenda items. May I have a motion to form the proposed Mills Road Water District subject to permissive referendum?
I'll move that.
Let me just tell you, the actual resolution is longer than that. Dina will have it, but this covers what we're doing. This is going to get the process started.
Okay.
The actual resolution has some other items that are required by law to be in there, but Dina will have that.
Okay. But that's essentially what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I moved it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Yes. Tony, I have a question about those individuals who are not in town of Lysander at the time of the vote. Can they vote absentee? Is there any way to have their voice heard?
I'm not sure you can do an absentee on a permissive referendum.
Can we look it up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Check that. So we've got some time before that happens, but I don't know if you can do a permissive or a absentee ballot.
But in deference to that concern, which I share, I'm sure everybody on the board shares it, should we maybe just table this until we make sure that folks are back by the spring from wherever they are?
Well, yeah, they've got 60 days before we even schedule it.
Okay,
So 60 days from now is spring.
Is April. They should know.
Well, but maybe not. They may not be back.
And
I don't know.
in the meantime, if we find out that we can do an absentee ballot, we'll have time to do that. If they can't do an absentee ballot, it doesn't matter when they come back. If they're not here, they're not here.
Well, unless, as Bob says, unless we delay it until they are here.
I mean, if they're snowbirds, they're gonna be back on May.
Yeah.
And
Well, when we set the meeting, when we set up the actual date for the vote, we'll know by then whether we can do
We can set up the date anytime.
We have to do it within 90 days.
within 90 days, so.
I mean, they have 30 days from the date it gets filed.
But look how long, like, just look at the sidewalk vote, it's the same thing.
Right.
So that took a few months for us to do, so it's gonna be, by the time we do that vote, it's probably gonna be May.
Yeah, you're probably 3 or 4 months from
3 months.
down.
Okay.
Do 90 days for sure.
Okay, all
You're
right,
gonna be into May or June.
okay.
And I don't know how many people, maybe they're talking about 2 people. I don't know how many.
Well, I don't know either. I would just like to, if there's an opportunity for everybody's voice to be heard, I would like to
I'll take it.
create that. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to adopt local law number 3 to amend Town of Lysander Code, Chapter 275-36, taxation, referring to Section 466-D to comply with Chapter 670 of the Laws of New York, 2022. An act to amend the real property tax law in relation to providing all local governments with the option to provide a property tax exemption to volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers, and to repeal various provisions of the real property tax law related thereto.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
And this is for 2 years, we changed it, right? From
We
5
did,
to 2?
Yeah. Did you change it on your sheet? Okay.
Yep.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to hold a public hearing on March 2nd, 2023 at 6:30 PM to consider amending local law number 2 of 2018, Article 3, Section 44, to add Partridgeberry Drive, where parking shall be prohibited on the Friday and Saturday immediately preceding Mother's Day each year from 7 AM to 7 PM on the side of the street as posted. This motion shall authorize the town clerk to advertise for same.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Can you just bring us up to date on what this is again?
This was for the
Garage sale.
Radisson garage sale, and there was one street they wanted added to it. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. So we're going to eliminate motion D. And motion E, to authorize the town supervisor to sign the aqua permit for the following hydrant installations.
We're replacing the wording for D.
I'm
That's
just
all.
gonna move it to I.
Oh, you're gonna move it to the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
8-inch extension, Longview Phase 2, Radisson.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? These were the ones recommended by you, right?
Yeah, they're okay to sign.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to approve the budget modifications forms for 2022 submitted by the town comptroller, general fund, part-town, and highway.
I'll move it. I'll second that.
Any discussion? Throughout the year, when people have budgets, sometimes they find that things change, so they want to move money from money. It's all within the working budgets of each department head. So that's what we're doing, just to reconcile those. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to approve the budget modification form for 2023 submitted by the town comptroller?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to authorize the following items surplus? Metal typing stand with casters, tag number 953. GE washer dispenser cooler, tag number 1118. IBM typewriter, tag number 763.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Okay, motion I. May I have a motion to authorize the town supervisor to sign a contract with a qualified vendor to replace the existing non-functioning fire alarm system.
Do we say that?
You got all these firefighters.
Did we have a
You got to set that dollar amount.
We had a dollar amount.
Oh,
Yeah,
12 something.
was it 12,422, the higher bid?
12. $12,422.
not to exceed. How much was it? 12,000, what?
422.
422.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Just to explain to the public, we're not sure the new system, the bids we got might not necessarily be compatible with the system we have. So we got a bid from the current contractor and a bid from a competitor. So we've got to make sure that either system will work with what we have here currently. And that's why the vagueness of the motion. We want to get it taken care of. Did I explain it okay? Sorry.
But we have fire extinguishers in our offices, so we're all good.
Tina runs around with water. I mean, the water cooler that we just got rid of might hurt, but.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. I don't see any reason for an executive session. I get a motion to adjourn.
So moved. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.